Mr. Kang'ombe.
Mr. Chairperson, as I contribute to this very important head, I want to indicate that, first of all, I will not debate figures because I'm sure the Minister of Finance, the 7.6 million that he's asking for, has been calculated based on the things that they have to do as a ministry. So, Minister, we agree that we give you the 7.6 million kwacha. I'll focus my remarks, Chairperson, on two important issues. The first issue, Honorable Minister, for your attention, obviously relates to the mandate of your ministry. I am aware that the ministry has got qualified people to help you achieve what you want to achieve. I do not doubt the abilities of the Zambians that have been employed to support the work that you are doing. But, Minister, it is always important that what you tell them to do, the input that you tell them to provide is what they will provide. So, Minister of Finance, you have announced on this floor of the House, I think last year and this year, that you are targeting to achieve 3 million tons of copper over a period of 10 years. And you did inform your experts in the ministry to couch policies around that target, which is a good thing. We need to achieve a certain target. But, Minister, my concern, which brings me to my debate today, is that you are on record providing incentives to mining companies to achieve a certain target. We also want to hear you provide incentives to the growth of SMEs. It is one thing to tell the public that go and apply for loans. It is a good thing because the loans will deal with the financing aspect. But, Minister of Finance, I'm sure research has shown, and I would have loved the Minister of Commerce to be present, and I would have loved the Minister of SME to be present as I emphasize this point. Research has shown, Minister of Finance, that most SMEs in Zambia, you register in 2000, after 3 years, most of them collapse. Why are these SMEs not growing to the level that they should be able to grow to support the economy of our country? Your ministry, Minister of Finance, is responsible for policy. And I was looking at the programs under your ministry. Program 3422 and Program 3420 relates to economic policy management. So if, Minister of Finance, your instruction to your experts is that couch policies to give incentives to the mines, they'll give them. If you are not giving them instructions, Minister, to couch policies that will give incentives to the growth of SMEs, not the money aspect. Money is one issue. That is why we are here. We'll give you the money to give people loans. But in terms of the incentives, why SMEs collapse in the first 2-3 years, what incentives are we going to give them? Do we ensure that certain taxes are not paid to the SMEs so that they grow? Because if they don't grow, Minister, the money that we are giving them will not come back into the economy. So my request to you, and I hope that you take this request very seriously, and I hope that the experts in the Ministry of Finance will take this issue very seriously. Economic policy management. What policy will govern the growth of SMEs? What policy will govern the growth of Zambian businesses? Because if we don't deal with this issue, Minister of Finance, we will not be able to achieve what we intend to achieve. Secondly, and around the same point, I did raise an issue on this floor of the House, that how do we ensure that we reduce the cost of borrowing? One of the things that was responded to was that we will avoid government from borrowing locally. Domestic borrowing will reduce so that we free more resources to the private sector. And the private sector is where these SMEs, it is where these young Zambians want to get the money and grow their businesses. And Minister, I'm speaking very passionately about this issue because every time I take an opportunity to travel back to the constituency, The feedback I'm getting, and I believe that it is common in all the constituencies, is that where are the incentives for us Zambians? When will the cost of borrowing come down? We were told government will not borrow domestically to allow for more resources to be accessed by the local businessmen and women. They can't see that output up to now. So, Minister of Finance, when we emphasize some of these issues, this is feedback we are getting. The feedback we are getting is that the same way we are giving incentives to the mining companies, we must develop a strategy that will give the same amount of incentives to the local people, where we sit and discuss and have a very frank conversation around this matter. Minister, the legacy that this house will leave, the legacy that we are all going to leave, will be a legacy of having put the Zambians first. And I stand here today without debating the figures, because those are your issues. My issue as feedback from the constituency I represent, from the many people that I've spoken to, is that one, we need a strategy that will give incentives to the growth of SMEs. Giving them money is one issue, but giving them the same incentives, certain tax holidays, certain things that we are giving the bigger corporates. Let's find a formula for our local people. Once we do that, Minister of Finance, we are going to leave a legacy that will be remembered. The people of Kamfinsa have spoken, and I thank you.
I like the idea that somebody raised, that we need to sit down and see what is it that we can do for the SMEs. I agree, we need to do that. But I also want to tell you that in countries where the big industries are strong, they provide the lending support to the SMEs. When you talk about the SMEs in Japan, where there is Toyota, Toyota will not say, I want to do tires, or I want to do mirrors, or I want to do fenders, because they give that to the small people to do. Where you don't have this big brother, it becomes difficult to have sustainable SMEs. That is even true in the area where I come from. When the mining sector is thriving, you see you're able to support so many SMEs. So it's not as if all or that. The two are important, and we need to support them together. And certainly, if there are proposals put on the table on how else, because I know there are a number of incentives, how else, what else we can do, of course, we'll be very happy to participate in that discussion. Yes, I think you also raised the issue of cost of borrowing. I agree, it's too high, and we need to do something about that.